If you have an older home, there's a good chance something is hiding under your sink right now that has been banned by every major plumbing code in the country. And most people have no idea it is even there. After 3 decades of working on residential plumbing, I can tell you this is one of the most overlooked dangers I see in homes built before the 1980s. Today, I am walking you through 10 things you need to understand about S-traps, why they are banned, and exactly what to do about it. Stick around for number 8, because the real reason these traps fail goes deeper than most people realize, and the bonus tip at the end could save you from a very expensive mistake. The first thing we need to cover is what an S-trap actually is. If you get down on your hands and knees and look under your bathroom or kitchen sink, you will see a curved pipe coming down from the drain. An S-trap gets its name because the pipe literally forms the shape of the letter S. The water flows down from the sink drain, curves down into a U shape, then curves back up and then down again into the floor. That second downward curve is what makes it an S instead of a P. The drain line exits through the floor rather than through the wall. Now, this design might look perfectly fine to most people. It holds water in that U-shaped bin, and for years everyone assumed it worked just as well as anything else. But that shape is exactly where the trouble starts. The key thing to remember is that the drain pipe on an S-trap goes straight down into the floor after that second bend. Keep that detail in your mind because it is the root cause of everything we are about to discuss. The second item on our list is how a proper trap seal works. Every drain in your home, whether it is a sink, a shower, a bathtub, or a floor drain, relies on something called a trap seal. That trap seal is simply the small amount of water that sits in the curved bottom of the trap at all times. Think of it like a plug made of water. Its entire job is to create a barrier between the air inside your drain pipes and the air you breathe in your home. When everything works correctly, that little pool of water blocks sewer gases from rising up through the drain and into your living space. The standard plumbing codes require a trap seal depth of at least 2 inches, but no more than 4 inches. That is not a random number. It is the sweet spot where you have enough water to form a reliable barrier, but not so much that the drain becomes sluggish or hard to clear. Every time you run the faucet, the water in the trap gets refreshed. When you turn the faucet off, a small amount of water stays behind in the curve, and your seal is restored. It is a beautifully simple system when it works properly. The problem with S-traps is that they have a design flaw that can destroy that seal completely. The third thing you need to understand is the siphoning effect. And this is the big one. This is the primary reason S-traps are banned. When water flows down through an S-trap and makes that final downward turn into the floor, it creates a column of falling water inside the pipe. That falling column of water acts like a piston. It pulls the air and water behind it downward with surprising force. This is the exact same principle that makes a siphon work when you use a hose to drain a fish tank or siphon gas out of a tank. Once that column of water gets moving, it does not just drain the water you sent down the sink. It keeps pulling. And what it pulls out is the trap seal. That critical 2 inches of water sitting in the bottom of the curve that is supposed to protect you. Once that trap seal gets sucked dry, You have an open pipe running from the sewer system straight into your home with absolutely nothing in between. It does not happen every single time you run the sink, but it happens often enough to be a serious code violation. A heavy flow of water, like filling a pot and dumping it down the drain, is usually enough to trigger a full siphon. And here is the part that makes it truly dangerous. You cannot hear it happen. You cannot see it happen. There's no alarm, no warning sign. The trap just quietly loses its seal, and the problems begin. By the way, if you are finding this advice helpful, you should know it is just a small sample of what I have put into my new guide, The Ultimate Plumbing Playbook. It is packed with step-by-step instructions for hundreds of repairs that can save you thousands. To grab your copy, you can scan the QR code on the screen right now, or just use the first link in the description below. All right, let us continue. The fourth danger we need to talk about is sewer gas and why it is so dangerous. Once that trap seal is gone, sewer gas has a free path into your home. Now, a lot of people hear the term sewer gas and just think of a bad smell. And yes, it does smell terrible, like rotten eggs. That smell comes from hydrogen sulfide, which is one of the main components of sewer gas. But the danger goes well beyond an unpleasant odor. Sewer gas is actually a mixture of several gases, including hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, methane, and carbon dioxide. At low concentrations, hydrogen sulfide causes headaches, nausea, dizziness, and irritation of the eyes and respiratory system. At higher concentrations, and this is something most people do not realize, hydrogen sulfide can actually cause you to lose your sense of smell entirely. So you stop smelling the danger even though the gas is still present and getting worse. In extreme cases, high levels of hydrogen sulfide exposure can cause loss of consciousness. Methane, another component of sewer gas, is highly flammable and in enclosed spaces can create an explosion risk. For older adults especially, prolonged low-level exposure to these gases can aggravate respiratory conditions, cause chronic headaches, and disrupt sleep without anyone ever identifying the source. I have walked into homes where people thought they were dealing with allergies or mold, and the real culprit turned out to be a dry trap seal from an old S-trap that had quietly siphoned itself empty months earlier. The fifth point worth exploring is why S-traps were so common in older homes. If they are so dangerous, you might be wondering how they ended up in millions of houses in the first place. The answer is simple. Older plumbing practices and building layouts made S-traps the easiest option. In homes built from the early 1900s through roughly the 1970s, it was extremely common for the drain line to exit through the floor rather than through the wall. When your drain goes into the floor, the most natural pipe configuration creates that S shape. Plumbers were not negligent or careless. The codes at the time either allowed S-traps or simply did not address the siphoning issue at all. Venting requirements were also much less strict in earlier decades. Many older homes have minimal or inadequate vent systems, and when S-traps were installed without proper venting, the siphon problem was even worse. It was not until plumbing science caught up and code organizations studied the siphoning effect in detail that S-traps were formally prohibited. So if your home was built before roughly 1980 and the plumbing under your sinks has not been updated, There is a very real chance you are living with S-traps right now. The sixth item on our list is what the code actually says. Both of the major plumbing codes in the United States, the Uniform Plumbing Code, known as the UPC, and the International Plumbing Code, known as the IPC, explicitly prohibit S-traps. The language varies slightly between the two, but the intent is identical. S-traps are banned because they are subject to self-siphoning and cannot reliably maintain a trap seal. The UPC is primarily used in Western states, while the IPC is more common in Eastern and Midwestern states. But both agree completely on this point. Now, here's something that trips people up. The code prohibits installing new S-traps, but it does not always require you to rip out an existing one in an older home as long as you are not doing a remodel or pulling a permit. This is called being grandfathered in. However, just because something is grandfathered does not mean it is safe. It simply means the code enforcement system is not actively requiring you to change it. If you sell your home and an inspector flags it, or if you do any renovation work on that bathroom or kitchen, you will almost certainly be required to bring it up to current code at that point. The seventh thing every homeowner should understand is the P-trap difference. A P-trap is the code-approved alternative to an S-trap, and the difference is straightforward. Instead of the drain line curving downward into the floor after the trap bend, a P-trap sends the drain line horizontally into the wall. If you look at it from the side, it forms the shape of the letter P lying on its side. That horizontal section after the curve is called the trap arm, and it is the critical piece that makes everything work. The trap arm connects to a sanitary T inside the wall, and above that T is a vent pipe that runs up and out through the roof. Because the water exits horizontally rather than dropping straight down, it does not create that piston effect. There is no column of falling water to generate suction. The trap seal stays intact every single time. It is the same basic concept, a U-shaped bend holding water, but the exit direction changes everything. If you look under a modern sink in any home built to current code, you will see a P-trap. The tailpiece comes down from the sink drain, the water curves through the trap, and the trap arm goes straight back into the wall. Simple, reliable, and safe. The eighth point on our list is the role of venting in preventing siphon, and this is where the full picture comes together. Even a P-trap needs proper venting to work correctly. The vent pipe allows air to enter the drain system behind the flowing water, which equalizes the pressure and prevents any suction from building up. Think of it like putting your finger over the end of a straw filled with water. The water stays in the straw because there's no air pressure pushing from behind. Remove your finger and the water flows freely. Vent pipes do the same thing for your drains. They allow air in so that water flows smoothly without creating a vacuum. The reason S-traps are especially vulnerable is that even with a vent, the geometry of that downward drop after the trap creates conditions where siphoning can still occur. But without a vent, an S-trap will siphon almost every time you run a significant amount of water. Many older homes with S-traps also have inadequate or missing vents, which makes the problem dramatically worse. Proper venting is not optional in modern plumbing. It is the invisible partner that makes your entire drain system function safely. The ninth thing I want to help you with is how to tell if you have an S-trap. This is the practical moment where you can actually check your own home. Go to any sink in your house and open the cabinet underneath. Look at the curved pipe coming down from the drain. Follow it with your eyes. If the pipe curves down, then back up, and then goes down again through the floor, you have an S-trap. The key indicator is that the pipe exits through the floor or goes downward after the trap bend. If instead the pipe curves down, back up, and then goes horizontally into the wall, you have a P-trap and you are in good shape. Check every sink in the house, because it is common for one bathroom to have been updated while another still has the original plumbing. Pay special attention to half baths, utility sinks in the basement or garage, and any sink that rarely gets used. Those are the ones most likely to still have S-traps and the most likely to have dry trap seals. Since infrequent use means the water evaporates over time, the 10th and final item on our list is how to replace an S-trap with a P-trap. For many homeowners, this is a manageable DIY project, but it depends on your specific situation. If the drain line currently goes into the floor and there is no wall connection available, you will need to reroute the drain line into the wall and connect it to a properly vented sanitary T. In some cases, this means opening up the wall, adding a vent connection, and running new pipe. That can be a bigger project and may require a permit depending on your local jurisdiction. However, if the wall behind the sink already has a drain stub and vent, the swap is much simpler. You would remove the old S-trap, install a new P-trap assembly using 1.5-inch pipe for a bathroom sink or 2-inch pipe for a kitchen sink, and connect the trap arm to the wall stub. Most P-trap kits available at hardware stores come with slip joint connections that tighten by hand or with basic channel lock pliers. Make sure the trap arm has a slight downward slope toward the wall, roughly 1/4 inch of fall per foot, to ensure proper drainage. Once connected, run the water for a full minute and check every joint for leaks. If you are not comfortable working with drain lines, or if you need to open walls and add venting, this is a job worth calling a licensed plumber for. The cost of a professional S-trap to P-trap conversion typically runs between $150 and $400 depending on complexity, and it is money very well spent for the safety of your home. And now for the bonus tip that professional plumbers swear by. If you have confirmed that you have an S-trap but you cannot replace it right away, here is something you can do in the meantime to reduce the risk. After every time you use that sink, let a slow trickle of water run for about 5 to 10 seconds after you finish. This gentle flow helps replenish the trap seal without creating the heavy rush of water that triggers a full siphon. It is not a permanent fix, and it does not make the S-trap code compliant, but it dramatically reduces the chance of losing your trap seal between uses. Also, for any drains you do not use regularly, pour a cup of water down them once a week to keep the trap seal from evaporating. A dry trap is just as dangerous as a siphon trap, and in guest bathrooms or basement utility sinks, evaporation is a silent problem that catches people off guard. This simple habit costs you nothing and keeps that protective water barrier exactly where it needs to be. Before you go, I want to make sure you know about my complete guide, the Ultimate Plumbing Playbook. It goes way deeper than we can in a single video, with 85 pages covering everything from clearing any clog to replacing your own water heater. If you want to stop wasting money on simple fixes, this book is for you. Just scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description to get your copy. Thanks for watching. And if you have not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next one.